Hello and welcome to Türkiye Talks. This week we are going to talk about United Kingdom, the death of Queen Elizabeth, and how did it impact the UK political life. We are going to talk about the social reaction to it, and also for the last week, people are talking about the traditions of royal family, and a lot to talk about it. I'm joined by Kadir Ustun from Washington and Elif Selin Çalık from London. Welcome both.
Hello.
Thank you. It's very kind of you. Thank you, Bora.
Thank you. Selin, let's start with you because you are in London. You are probably watching what's going on TV. Maybe you have run into the ceremonies. Maybe you are talking with people. What is the general mood in London and in the UK in general? Because she reigned for 70 years. Many people saw no any other monarch than Queen Elizabeth. So when she died, okay, she was 96 years old, and in that age, anything can be expected. But what is the mood? What can you tell us about the feeling in the UK?
Yes, with the death of Queen Elizabeth, one night, the destiny of the country, especially the destiny of the London, the atmosphere in the London was changed in one night, shift from routine to the really extraordinary situation. From the restaurants to the embassies, everything changed, every schedule changed. And 19th of September, we are going to have big ceremony, a funeral of the Queen Elizabeth. She arrived yesterday from Edinburgh to London. Now her coffin is in London right now. So it is really historical, and I'm saddened by this that, but also it is very historical. I feel very lucky to become here in London and to witness all these kind of historical and very archaic situations in London. Even if it affects my daily life. For example, this Saturday I booked for horse riding, and from the stables they called me and they said that unfortunately we couldn't be able to open for the Saturday because it is the land of Queen. So I rescheduled my horse riding, and also other events cancelled. So there are some allegations, there are some questions. Maybe we can touch upon this kind of issues. The Queen is dead, and now what is the future of the monarchy? Will the monarchy survive or not, or should it? This kind of allegations. There are some allegations actually.
Yeah. What is interesting to me, I mean, especially in the first days of the death of Queen, we have seen Prince Harry and his wife Meghan Markle. They came to accept the condolences from people. She had an issue with the Queen, with the royal family, so they left their positions, but they also came. I wonder what was the reaction of the press. As you said, the future of the royal family or the monarchy is being discussed, but it seems that most of the British people and other countries in Canada, in other places, they still have respect to the royalty and monarchy, but still we hear some criticisms. What is the latest, the most discussed issue when it comes to that? What are the arguments that you read or you heard?
Thank you. Now, will monarchy survive? This is the main question, and this is the main headline. British newspapers and media outlets, of course. But even if it is highlighted, it is highlighted with the Magna Carta in 2015 that British monarchy should survive, and we can see that Queen Elizabeth, run this monarchy 70 years with her reign. So it is the longest of any British monarchy in history. So and also when you enter the web page of Royal Queen and Government, now we will say God Save the King, by the way, national anthem change. And also some currency issues, currency will change, maybe we can touch later on. But when you enter the web page of the monarchy royal web page, royal.uk, it says the monarchy has to remain strictly neutral with respect to the political matters. And yesterday also, King Charles signed the monarchy, anthem by saying that I will run this monarchy until the end of my life. So it means that it will survive and he will continue.
When it comes, yeah.
The most, the biggest highlight for me, for example, BBC said that the Queen Elizabeth passed away, but Sky News said that Queen Elizabeth died. You can read this highlight with the very, very, tiny hints, tiny details, actually. So,
yeah. When it comes to Queen's relations with Turkey, in Turkey, when we looked at the papers and media coverage, we have seen that her visits to Turkey were highlighted. He came to Turkey in 1961, 1971, and I think it was in 2007 or 8. Eight. Can you talk a little bit about her relationship with Turkey and her visits, maybe? What can you tell us about that?
Yesterday, in my column, I wrote an article about this issue, actually. And I refer from Queen Elizabeth's speech at Turkish State Banquet in 2008 during her first visit to Turkey after 36 years. And she says that Turkey is uniquely positioned as a bridge between East and West at a crucial time for the European Union and the world in general, playing a key role in promoting peace, political stability, and the economic development in some of the world's most unsettled areas. So, having said that, we can understand that really Queen Elizabeth used to give huge importance Turkey's situation, geopolitically, especially between East and West, and also Turkey really important in terms of hosting a lot of civilization during the history. She used to visit Turkey's historical sites. There's very, very iconic picture. I'm sure that you have seen it before. Queen Elizabeth jumps the royal yacht of Britannia during her state visit in 1971. It was captured by Getty Images. So, and also in 1971, she visited Ephesus, the ancient city of Ephesus, during a state visit as well. So, I think Queen gave a lot of importance to Turkey's background as well. For example, she visited one of the most important capitals of Ottoman Empire, Bursa, and
yeah, Kadir, maybe you can also talk a little bit about her relationship with Turkey, and from her point of view, maybe we can look at the Turkish-British relationship because hundreds of years, it's not only with Turkey, but when we go back to Ottoman times, Britain was an important country for Ottoman Empire too, but especially after the Republic, Turkey has special relations with Britain, sometimes good, sometimes problematic, but especially after Brexit, we see Britain more interested in Turkey because of maybe having bilateral relations with other countries other than European countries. So what is your reaction and opinions about the death of Queen, and after that, what kind of impact can it have on the relations between the two countries?
Of course, this passing of the Queen is very significant in terms of history and what it represents for the United Kingdom. And as you both said, she witnessed many decades of historic events, and she oversaw, so many developments in the country's history. The Cold War, many U.S. presidents, Turkish presidents, and prime ministers. She's visited Turkey multiple times, so it's very symbolically, at least, very important in terms of history of colonialism, decolonization in a number of countries. It actually, her passing away just brought up those questions as well. Some countries are questioning the role of British royalty in their countries, whether to do away with it, perhaps. So it brings up many questions from history. From the Turkish perspective, of course, the relationship with the United Kingdom in recent years, like you mentioned, after Brexit, has been good, strong, and Turkey, as you know, has been waiting for EU membership, but that hasn't happened, and they've been able to develop relationship that is kind of independent of the EU dynamics to some extent, at least, and that relationship under Boris Johnson has been strong, partly because Boris Johnson had sort of Turkish heritage in his family, but also his approach has been different as well. So the United Kingdom's relationship with Turkey has been kind of outside the EU context, perhaps much closer to relationship with the US, minus the crises and tensions that Turkey often has with the United States. There's a lot of economic relationships between the two countries. It's much closer geographically, and they've, I think the previous ambassador was quite popular in Turkey because he's the current head of MI6, I believe. So the reception about the British policy in Turkey has been lately more positive than negative. There hasn't been major, perhaps, tensions between the two countries. They're NATO allies. That's been the source of strategic stability, let's say. But of course, just like with the rest of the Western countries, Turkey often has issues and problems regarding especially Syria and other places. So, since the royalty does not really have executive function in the UK system, the impact, direct or indirect impact on relations with Turkey will probably be more minimal. But of course, at the end of the day, it's the head of the state. King Charles is going to be the head of the state. His kind of past trying to learn Islam and Arabic, and like his more positive approach could have some marginal impact, I guess, on the relationship with Turkey. So it's going to be largely a symbolic impact, I would say. Hardcore strategic matters that we usually talk about in this program may not be affected very, directly. But it is still significant. And if you want to go to history, England has a history with Turkish independence war. I mean, they were one of the invading powers of the against the Ottomans. They occupied Istanbul for a number of years, and Turkish independence war was kind of completed once they left Istanbul. And there's prior to that, for about 30 years, the Turkish Sultan Abdülhamid II really rattled the Brits around the world, because he was pursuing a policy of pan-Islam, Islamic unity around the world, and especially India and other Muslim, regions under British rule, British colonial rule. There was a lot of resonance in those lands, and that really threatened the British rule. Brits were quite worried about Abdülhamid's policy, but under modern Turkey, of course, Turkey, made a choice. And I mean, I don't want to give a history lesson here, but the relationship between Turkey and the UK has been sort of stable in modern times. But of course, if we go to specific time periods, let's say, invasion of Iraq, there's a major difference of opinion there, etc. So before I get into more history, let me stop there.
I think, when it comes to Turkey and British relations, the first thing comes to my mind actually is Cyprus. I believe that British decision makers has better understanding of the geopolitics of our region. And after Brexit, we have seen the British governments, consecutive governments, were very interested in having relations with Turkey, when it comes to trade relations, or when it comes to Turkey's issues with other European countries. Britain played a balancing role with Turkey and Turkey's relations with, let's say, Germany and France and other countries. So, as you have said, maybe the British royals, the British Queen or the King, they don't have executive powers, but in the country, I think they have still impact. I mean, what I heard in Turkey, when I watch TV channels, or when I talk with our colleagues, they said after the death of the Queen, many people thought that her position was not only symbolic. Elif, you just said the place you are riding horses belongs to the Queen. So everything we know, we talk about, for example, the air defense of the country, its royal air forces. So to what extent royalty plays an important role within the country? Where do you meet with the royals when in your daily life? I mean, can you tell us something about it?
Of course, I don't only meet at the Oxford Street station in the kiosk with magnets. It is more than that, beyond that, as you highlighted. Yes, it is important to highlight that you can't deny that Queen Elizabeth had really immense soft power effect in the country, and very, very important to attract tourists. More than 12 million people. They arrive every year, yearly, this country, thanks to the Queen Elizabeth and also her monarchy. So Having said that, the most important thing I would like to highlight that, for example, when you go to Greenwich, for example, it is not far from the London Bridge area, southeast London, you see that it is under the protection of UNESCO, United Nations, this cultural heritage site. All restaurants, all pubs, all places, they are paying rent to the Queen, because the land belongs to the Queen Elizabeth. So I think it is more than enough to highlight the importance of Queen's power and effect in this country.
So,
but yes, please.
This will be a long funeral for the Queen. She is now, I think, late in Westminster. So we expect the funeral will take place on the 19th of September. Then, after this halt, after this time, people will go back to their lives and face with the reality. And the Britain, the UK has a new government, Truss. She will be the first prime minister after the death of Queen. So she will start working for the real issues, real big problems. What are they? What is the main issue for the new government, for the new monarch? Okay, we can put King Charles aside, but the new government, what will be the main problem in Britain after in this new period with the new government and the new monarch?
Thank you. Very sharp and very smart shift from Queen's funeral to the reality, actually, because now it is very important to highlight that due to the Ukraine war, as well as European Union and other Asian countries, here in UK, we have been passing through very difficult times, especially in terms of energy cap rise day by day, every day. So Liz Truss gave a speech last week at the Parliament to sort it out the issue of energy crisis. So she highlighted that every household should pay only for 2,500 per year. So she promised to fix this energy cap to the 2,500. It is very important to highlight that Liz Truss government has a lot of issue, especially after Brexit and at the age of the Ukraine war and post-pandemic era. I think in that regard, King Charles will only approve what Liz Truss government will suggest, as Queen Elizabeth did before. Even LGBT rights, in terms of LGBT rights, Queen Elizabeth approved that. She didn't give any fuss about LGBTQ constitution of the Parliament in 2011, I remember. So I think now all eyes will glance at the Liz Truss government right now as a third female Prime Minister of UK history.
Kadir, what is your take on this? Many issues will be on the table for Ms. Truss because, she took over from Boris Johnson after a very problematic period of time. What are the main issues for the new government in the UK?
Well, I think, the main problem right now is Russia, of course. Strategically, the main problem is always economy for all countries. So economy, the energy, because of the energy shortages that will happen soon throughout Europe, the inflation, all of that, and British pound used to be much stronger, so now it's much weaker, and that has an impact on the economy as well. And these are problems common to European countries, in Turkey as well. How to deal with Russia, pushing for sanctions so far haven't really changed Putin's calculation, although there is a lot of news about, Putin having problems internally. So that's the top of the agenda, especially for the UK. When we look at their relationship with the US, that's called a special relationship. President Biden is going to attend the funeral next Monday. It's very important for the US-UK relationship as well. So it's one of the, UK traditionally supports the US in Europe first, like it comes to US's aid, aligns itself with the United States, I guess ever since Churchill. So it is going to be significantly important how to deal with Russia. And I think, we saw the AUKUS agreement. We talked about it in this program. How United States is trying to, let's say, push back against China in Asia through its partnerships with the UK, Australia, Japan, and others. So UK has a significant role in both fronts that the United States wants to deal with, both Russia and China. And then, whatever happens in the UK has implications for Europe. Ever since they left the Union, I'm not sure if that's considered a great success for the UK, especially when you look at the economy. But they've been fine, I guess. They've been okay. Those debates are largely over, but I think the current government, the most urgent thing that they need to deal with is going to remain Ukraine war scene, what happens there, and the economy and inflation, among other things. And I think that's the funny thing about strategic relationship with the US. It doesn't seem to really matter which kind of government comes to power. That is a special relationship, and everybody, all parties, kind of, not all perhaps, but major parties really value that relationship, and royalty pays special attention to it. And the Queen has never failed to meet any American presidents, except for, I think, Lyndon Johnson, whose term was short. So when I look at it from the transatlantic perspective, there's going to be much more continuity than change, I would say. But this alliance, transatlantic alliance, is tested by both Russia and China, and I think strategically, globally, those are the big questions. More locally, Ukraine and economy, I would say.
I remember that Boris Johnson had very hard times just before he lost his position in the British Parliament. Do you think this government can live longer than Boris Johnson, Selin, or we can see another change in the government soon? Because, as you have said, there are many issues: energy, as Kadir mentioned, inflation, economy. There are really big problems, not only for the UK, but for many European countries after the impact of the pandemic. And we all know that all around the world there is economic kind of recession. It's really difficult for many countries to go on. So should we expect another change in the government soon, or maybe an early elections? What is the mood? I know people are now watching news about the royal family, first days of the new king, but when it comes to realities, it's not easy for any government in Europe especially. What is your opinion about that?
Well, I think this trust period will be taxation period, because people in this country, they fed up with paying high taxes. Okay? So as long as she sorted out this issue, I think her seat at the parliament, House of Lords as well, will be long lasting, as far as I can see. Perspective. And also she came with high promises of Brexit. She took, it is very important to highlight that she took a very important wreckage for this period. During pandemic era, people, they have been paid by the government, and now as a repay, people, they are paying now too much taxes. Yes, during pandemic, households economy, people's economy, every individual, from dentist to the housekeeper, it hasn't been the government, Boris government, tried to do their best with Sunak. They try to do their best, actually, but now this trust government is going to deal with the taxation issues, and also they need to clear up the pandemic era taxation issue. As long as she helps people, budget in that regard, I think she will stay as much as she wants, actually, on the election.
Yeah, we'll see. Thank you very much for your comments, Elif, Selin, Çalık, and Kadir, Ustun from Washington. We talked about the death of Queen and the impact on the new government's position, and the Liz Truss's new era under new royalty, new king. So we'll see what will happen. Thank you very much both, and hope to see you next time.